I need to warn you that this video might scare you because it contains ideas that could be against your religious beliefs or considered just totally nuts. So hold on to your belief systems, click that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get on with the video. Now, I don't know if you've seen in the press or in the media recently, but there's some really incredible yet verifiably true stories that shake up the model of the world a little bit. Could this finally be proof that magic exists and is real after all? Well, here's the proof. You make up your own mind for yourself. Recently, scientists have discovered that plants, yes, plants, make noises at roughly the same volume as human speech. And I know it sounds kind of nuts, doesn't it? Obviously, we humans can't hear it, otherwise it would have been reported years ago. But other animals can. The plants do this, by the way, around 1 or even 2 times per hour when they're, quote, happy. But when plants are in distress, like they have too much or too little water, or they're in direct sunlight or being attacked by something, they make noises more often too. So some animals can actually hear these noises as well, by the way. So imagine being a hedgehog, for example, and being able to hear this, or a bee who can already see ultraviolet that we humans can't see, but also hear these sounds coming from a tomato plant.
Oi, over here, bee, pollinate me.
Or lavender, for example. It'd be a very different world for them than the one that we live in.
I am going to make you regret this for the rest of your life, Basil.
Oh no! I see what you did there, you cheeky little scamp. I likes that, I do. I think we should have more jokes like that on this channel. Even if this wig is really itchy and hot. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments.
Now, previously, humans have found out that mushrooms have a kind of electrical communication system throughout their entire mycelium, which is kind of like the mushroom's root structure, allowing them to communicate literally like the trees in Avatar. They request nutrients from one tree to another. They share it like a community, like a sentient being. That's weird, but now we've learned that plants can talk to other animals using sound. Just imagine being an animal, listening to the forest, literally talking to you. This isn't magic, I know, but it does kind of make you think that the stories of fairies being able to communicate with the trees and flowers might not be so far-fetched after all. Now, if you find this intriguing, fine, but hold on to your hats because it gets weirder. Much weirder from here on in. As recently as the year 2020, when the world was already in the middle of a pandemic which was distracting it from everything else, what better time to release a news story that you want hidden? Well, the Pentagon did exactly that. In the United States of America, they released a statement that flew around the world, but no one really paid any attention to it. It's a statement that they had off-world vehicles not made on the Earth. Check those exact words and Google it yourself. It's not just in small tabloids, by the way. This is like Washington Post, New York Times, Guardian in the UK. It's gone everywhere. Now, we hear testimony from the likes of Stephen Greer nowadays during the live congressional hearings. Yes, the live television footage from the US Congress, where Dr. Stephen Greer explains in detail that the US government already have anti-gravity propulsion systems that they've backwards engineered from UFOs, and he's got all the documentation to prove it.
No, definitely not.
He explains how these craft fly belly first, which is also what Bob Lazar said in the 1980s, and it's been backed up by the footage that's leaked out from the Pentagon in the last couple of years as well. Again, verifiably true. Bob Lazar, by the way, for those of you who don't know, claimed to backwards engineer alien spacecraft in Area 51, or S4 as he called it, back in the 1980s, and I did a video about that, and I've linked it up here. I know you're all here for real wizardry, and this UFO stuff seems a little bit off topic, doesn't it?
No, definitely not.
Well, it's not, and here's why. I will link it back. Recently, the hacktivist group Anonymous, who are the same people, by the way, who bring attention to corruption and immoral treatment of people in government and in corporations through their hacking activities, has found evidence within NASA of a new take on this whole UFO phenomenon. You may have noticed a subtle change in terminology from UFO, or unidentified flying object, to UAP, or unidentified aerial phenomenon, and this latter acronym is also used for other things within the US military, and it's thought by some that maybe this is a deliberate way of hiding the truth from the general public. Now put your tinfoil hat away just for a moment, we'll delve a little bit deeper. We should also look at USO, or unidentified submersible objects, suggesting that aliens might not be from outer space after all, but actually from the water instead. Now this is known as inner space, and this raises questions of Atlantis and other wild ideas. But let's stay on the rails for a little bit longer. The one I really like the idea of is interdimensionals, and this is what Stephen Greer calls them, by the way. These are entities that can travel between dimensions. I'm doing an episode on Mel's Hole as well. If you don't know what that is, just wait, it's going to be worth watching. Keeping an eye out in scientific literature though, you may have seen that there is now a theory of a kind of ethereal plane or a second planet intersecting our own planet Earth. Personally, I have a theory that I've been working on and I'd like to share it with you. If sound is a wave and light is a wave, and as of around 2014 I think, we discovered that even gravity and space seem to be a wave, my theory is that time could also be a wave too. Now there's a scientist called Nikolai Kozyrev, or at least there was before he was bumped off, who said that time and space being equal rather related like a twisted sheet rather than a flat sheet, which Einstein said about. He called this a torsion field, and he filed patents when he worked for the Soviet Union showing how to make something called a Kozyrev mirror using a Fibonacci spiral and a sheet of aluminium, or aluminum if you don't want to use the English term. These mirrors have been proven to be able to reflect waves, including those encoded with a time signature. Now don't ask me about the science and how it all works because frankly I don't fully understand it. But people with much bigger brains than me do, and the idea is that essentially it can reflect time. Let's pause for a moment, because that's a big claim. That could potentially allow for time travel.
Surprise!
I've linked an excellent video about the Kozyrev mirrors in the description, by the way, from a channel called The Y-Files. I'd highly recommend it. It goes way deeper, it gets a lot weirder too. But I find it fascinating that if time is a wave or even a torsion field, as we propose, it could be reflected using the same idea as the one that allows for torsion fields in space-time. So, now we have our long-awaited theory of everything that ties all parts of space and time together in a lovely unified bow. We're all connected at all times and all things, everything, everywhere, all at once. Well, great. That also lays the foundation for manifestation as a scientific fact. All things exist in all places and at all times, and this is proven by the quantum science anyway. So why not extend that to matter and time too? Well, maybe, just maybe it can be. And if that's the case, magic must be real too. So...
Very magical.